Hello, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell. It is Thursday, August 4th, 2011. I'm doing this early because I'm up to here. I don't know about you, but I've been thinking all week. I've been watching the news channels on how they're reporting this debt ceiling crisis that we've just been through, the apocalypse theater that the dummy crooks and Republic thugs have staged for us and only recently resolved. And I'm listening to the political debate, and I don't know about you. I'm continually stunned at how the debate is proceeding along ideological lines. Let me give you, for example, we have the Republic thugs and the conservative wing of that particular party talking endlessly about how the government needs to get off of the back of entrepreneurs and corporations and create more jobs. They're blaming President Obama and the dummy crooks, not unjustifiably in some cases, for the current state of the economy and the fact that we had to go right up to the wire on defaulting, and I'll get to that, I hope, in a moment too. But they're calling for, I just saw Tim Pawlenty on Fox News, and he's been on a couple of the other channels as well, but he's touting his plan for deregulation, cutting taxes, and so on and so forth. Now, deregulation is fine, but let's remember that it was the deregulated investment houses that, under that scheme of credit default swaps and derivatives, that got us into the bubble that burst, that got us into this mess in the first place. All right. So, in other words, we have one side of the political aisle saying, get the government out of the pockets of people and, more importantly, out of the pockets of corporations. Well, the corporations, in their avarice and greed, got us into this mess. So, let's be fair. The corporations are in part to blame for this mess. I don't think the solution is to punish them by higher taxes. But nonetheless, let's do the history and get it right here, folks. Deregulation, the grand gold mine and pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that was promised to us at the end of in the Reagan era years, and toward the end of the Reagan era on into the first Bush era. This is the mantra that conservatism has followed, and it has led now to the current situation. On the other side of the aisle, the dummy crooks. Well, let's go back to the good old system of regulation that we used to have. Let's protect things. Let's protect the consumer and all of this. But let's go back to the 1970s. I'm old enough to remember when American cars and tariffs were so high that Japanese cars were more expensive. The American cars, as a result, suffered in terms of the quality of their workmanship. You would not have believed, some of you folks, what we were actually manufacturing at General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford back in the 1970s. The cars were poorly made. The joints, the seams in the joints were not even. There would be gaps. The gaps would vary even on the same seam. It was a disaster. So both sides are to blame here. And this is what bothers me, folks. Our country is in a political situation where the dummy crooks and Republic thugs are spouting their ideology, their mantras. Both sides are equally guilty in this history. Neither side is talking about the public good. And on top of all of this now, we're going to have socialized medicine and all the wonders that that's going to bring. And trust me, having lived in the UK, I don't want it. Okay? I don't know about you, but I don't want it. I even got a pair of glasses over in the United Kingdom. My glasses that I arrived in the United Kingdom from the United States broke. I had to get a new pair of glasses, so I went to pay for them. And they were all covered under the British National Health, and I wasn't even a British taxpayer. Okay, so I offered to pay, and there was too much. I guess there was too much complication that they didn't want to do the paperwork to do that. So anyway, it's a mess, folks, and the problem is I'm not hearing the things that really need to be talked about. And let's go to the issue of default for a moment. There's a lot of people that think that on the extreme right of the Republic Thug Party, the teabag element, that thought, oh, we should have just let the default happen. But my friends, even if we are ideologues enough to believe that abolishing the Federal Reserve would solve many of these difficulties, and I'm one of them that believes that, but I'm not an ideologue about it, and here's why. We cannot afford to default on debt. We cannot afford to lose the investment in this country. We cannot afford to lose the confidence and trust that we have built up by defaulting, because this would put honest and legitimate banks that have bought and invested in this country. This would put our overseas investors and trading partners, Japan, China, and so on, this would put their economies at risk, and that would only hasten the spiral. So let's be very clear. Ideological solutions are the problem here. There has to be a culture or climate where the American people, number one, know how to think the problems through, and the politicians have to be the ones most aware of this fact. And we need to get away from the dummy crook Republithug rhetoric that we're seeing now, ideological solutions being proposed for a national and systemic crisis that can only be debated by keeping open minds and getting out of this, the idea that we can somehow solve or resolve these questions simply by repeating ideological formulas that are leftovers from the 1970s and 1980s. These are the formulas that have led to this mess. All right, and that's my big comment. I'm not hearing. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm not the most politically aware person. I turn on the news occasionally. I just happened to tonight, and I'm listening to these news networks, CNN, Fox, and so on. And all I'm hearing on all these networks are the usual ideological solutions being pushed by whatever political party they align themselves with or align themselves to. And that's the problem. I'm not hearing any solutions really from anyone that I I can honestly say are mouthing those key necessary words. The public good. What is good for the people of this country? What is good for the nation? That's the problem. We hear corporate solutions on the right with the extreme right of the Republican Party, and we hear corporate solutions on the left. All right, because let's also be very cognizant about something. Regulation is one of the things that corporations oftentimes use or request in order to protect their cartel or monopoly practices in a particular area. So regulation, I'm sorry to my friends on the left, that too is a problem. It's not going to resolve itself by ideological solutions. And for all of you on the right and on the left that are espousing all of these ideological solutions, you are going to have to get a clue and realize that we're wise to your game out here. None of you deserve our trust. All of you have abused it. And you've got to wake up now and start dealing with the problems with some real solutions. Ideological phrases and mantras are no longer the way to go. Now, I do have some announcements before I get off of here. I'm sorry about going on my little diatribe there, but I'm just amazed at what I've seen on TV. But anyway, I do have some announcements. Daniel and I are continuing to look into the conference possibilities. We're still looking at software. That's the big issue that we're having right now. But we are intending to go ahead with the idea of the conference as soon as we can get the software issues sorted out. The other thing I want to announce is my co-author on Grid of the Gods and I, Dr. Scott DeHart, he and I are seriously exploring ideas of setting up yet another website for mutual publication of ebooks and so on and so forth that will go into a lot of more of this type of reaction to contemporary events and circumstances from the standpoint of kind of a broader context in history, literature, and science, and so on and so forth. So we're looking into that. I'll try and keep everybody posted. I am currently still writing one book with him. I'm doing another book by myself. The book with him is again going to be in the Ancient series. We are now about 2/3 of the way done. The writing is probably going to take a couple more months. The book I'm writing by myself is yet another installment in the Nazi series, and I have at least 3 more on last count sequels planned to various books. So I'm very busy. I do appreciate everybody that has made donations and contributions, because this has been a particularly expensive summer in terms of the research materials that I've had to get in order to do these books. So I wanted to make sure and thank everybody for that. Anyway, I'll see you all on the flip side, and God bless everybody.